Hello, we're back. I'm Miss Garcia from Williams Middle School, and I'm here to talk to you today about medieval theater, also known as the Middle Ages. So, medieval theater started coming about around 1100 CE, and there's different people who say that it came about earlier. Some people say it came about later, but for this purpose, we're going to say 1100 CE. Now, um, it how did it begin? It began with the church. So the church outlawed theater, as you remember, but it needed a way to get the information of Christianity and the Bible and the teachings of Christianity to the people. But there was a language barrier. There was a huge problem because one, the townspeople were illiterate. They did not know how to read or write. And two, there was a big problem because the service was conducted in Latin. So they didn't know how to read or write. They certainly didn't know Latin. So nobody had any idea what was going on at church. They would sometimes go just for the entertainment value, but the messages weren't sinking in. So the monks and the priests decided they were going to use some form of theater to kind of show the people what they were talking about. And only priests and monks at this time were allowed to do that at the beginning. So this is kind of where the flame was lit. Now, the priests and the monks started doing this. And next thing you know, people were coming and coming and coming in droves to see this happening because finally they were able to understand what it was that the monks and the priests were going on about. They started seeing the stories unfold in front of them. And so this made them even more popular. Now, of these, three types of plays came about. These are liturgical plays, plays basically about the church and Christianity. So, first type of play was called a mystery play. It's not like Scooby-Doo or anything. It was a mystery play because it was basically centered around the mysteries of God and divinity. Now, these were acted out mostly in tableau. You'll learn about tableau a little bit later, but just for right now, just imagine a frozen image or like a picture. That's what it is. So they kind of had these pictures around, and the people would go and see the different things acted out or in tableau, and they would kind of they started to connect stories. Well, eventually they moved into having dialogue, and they became more and more successful. They're also known as the cycle plays because there were several short plays that were connected together, and you could have sometimes 30 plays in like one thing. So they became known as cycle plays also. They still perform cycle plays, and we'll learn about that a little bit in a second. Also, there were miracle plays. The miracle plays were about the saints and how they became saints. And then the morality plays were basically just that, moral plays that used allegorical characters. I'm going to say that again, vocab word. Allegorical characters to depict man's struggle between good and evil. So the plays personified good and evil and other traits, and man was always tempted, but chooses good at the end. They always had moral lessons. Okay, so what is an allegorical character, you ask? Because it is a vocabulary word, I will tell you. An allegorical character is a character that symbolizes or personifies qualities of different moral attributes. So, basically, there wasn't just talk of good deeds, there was an actual character whose name was good deeds. Allegorical characters. Okay, so where were these performed, Miss Garcia? Well, I will tell you. They were started out being performed in the church. Then they got too big. Everybody wanted to see them because they started being more substance and more dialogue, and started getting added to costumes and things of that nature. So people people began to come more often, and so they had to move these to the church grounds. After the church grounds, the priests and monks weren't allowed to do it anymore, which allowed the townspeople to get a hold of it. And, you know, as we discussed earlier, people are natural performers, and the performers certainly did come out of the woodwork in order to start putting on these plays. They started adding more costumes and more things and writing more plays. They created pageant wagons, basically small stages on wheels that they could pull out and take anywhere and roll it out into the center of town and do the performances. Kind of think of like a parade float. That's kind of what it looked like. And then we also had what were called mansions. Now, these were permanent structures. They didn't roll around. They were permanent structures that provided various stock set areas. So now we're adding sets. Okay, dialogue, costumes, set. Now we're starting to see how theater is starting to evolve and come back, make its comeback. So if you look here at this picture right here, this is what a mansion is. And it had these stock set things, and each thing had a specific, this was a specific area where the plays would take place. Even hell, like you have hell here, and you have limbo. You have paradise on this side. See that they're opposite. There's the palace or a prison. Each one of these had a different purpose, and even had like a little water area where they could have sea battles. So this was what was considered a mansion. It was very big and permanent. And then this area right here is known as the platea. Now, the platea is this ground area directly in front of these mansions. This was a common acting area. So this is where the actors would come out and act and do their thing. So this is a front view of it. That other one was a little bit more of an aerial side view, but this would be the front area. So you'd have, if you were standing in the audience, you'd be standing in front of this thing right here. And then this right here is your platea. And then you'd have the different areas here that you could watch. And you would know when they were coming out based on which door they would come out of or exit. You would know who was who. Notice the costumes of these demons. Okay. So, I went too far. I went way too far. Let's go back. Okay. So, discussion question. We've reached the end. The discussions question. So, like I said before, mysteries or cycle plays are still happening today in England. And one that's quite popular for people to go to is the York cycle plays. Each town would start to do these cycle plays, and this is one that continues to do so. So I want you guys to watch the video and pick out at least one vocabulary word that you observed and share your thoughts on the plays. So pick a vocabulary word. There's several to choose from. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are. You'll see them. You'll know them when you see them. You might see one right here. I don't know. So check it out. I'll be back.